Did you guys hear anything?
It just stopped the music.
You did hear the music though?
It
Yeah.
was for a while, and
Just
then
do
it
it again.
stopped.
I didn't hear it at all.
I heard the music. You stopped it and asked if we heard anything. Welcome, fans, to another special episode of Rangers Ed. This is your host, Cousin Ed. I'm here with my co-hosts, Coach Ed. What's up, Coach?
What's up, fellas?
Coach without his headphones again. They must not be working. Did you charge them?
No, they work. They just bother me.
We got Little Ed over there with his brand new camera looking good. The Ranger room looks good. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, I'm slowly upgrading the range room behind me. I hung up some of my artwork, and I took down one of my shelves that was just kind of taking up space. So, thinking now I could swap things out for different episodes if I want to, and got some cool stuff behind me. So, check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, it looks good, man. It looks good. And we got our producer, Mikey Produces, over there. What's up, Mikey?
What's going on, fellas?
Not much, man. Not much. I'm excited. We got a good interview for you guys today. Rico Ricard is going to be joining us soon. He's a former defenseman. He played in the AHL, played junior hockey, was drafted into the NHL by the LA Kings. And he's got a great personality. I think you guys are going to love this interview. He's just a really fun guy to talk to. So we're just going to, shoot the shit with him for a few. And, it's going to be a good time. Until we do that. Yeah, until we do that, though, we do have a little bit of news. Little Ed's favorite player in the NHL, Erik Karlsson, was traded from the San Jose Sharks in a three-way trade to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Obviously, it impacts the Rangers.
My reaction?
What'd you say? Minus 27 power play every time or something like power play goal.
I was like, it's almost a guaranteed goal playing with Crosby and Malkin, but with Jari in net, he's still going to go minus 27 on the season.
Yeah, exactly. So, this impacts the Rangers. Obviously, Pittsburgh is one of those teams. A lot of fans have and analysts have Pittsburgh as a bubble playoff team this year. Battling with the Rangers, the Islanders for that 3 seed in the Metro behind Carolina, New Jersey, and battling for wild card spots. Obviously, they had a player like Erik Karlsson to an already deep roster. It's a pretty good trade for Pittsburgh. It's a really complicated trade too. It's one of the most complicated trades I've seen. 3-way deal with Montreal and San Jose. Tons of money moving around in this trade. Coach, I asked you earlier, how the hell did Pittsburgh fit Erik Karlsson under the cap? I actually got the answer. They traded Mikael Granlund's $5 million, Jan Ruda's $2.75 million, and Jeff Petrie. They retained 1.5 on him, but they got rid of $4.6 million for him. So that's almost $12 million Pittsburgh moved out in the trade, and they moved in Erik Karlsson with $1.5 million retained at $10 million. So there you go. A lot of maneuver. They also moved out Casey DeSmith, who made 1.8 and was Jari's backup. So that's even more money. Montreal takes on Petrie and Casey DeSmith, and they get a second-round pick in 2025. They move out Mike Hoffman and Rem Pitlick. Karlsson goes to Pittsburgh with a prospect and a third-round pick. And then San Jose gets a first-round pick that's top 10 protected. So if Pittsburgh, all these guys get hurt, they miss the playoffs, they're terrible, that pick will roll to 2025. Pittsburgh will keep it, and they take on 3 contracts, Mike Hoffman, Mikael Granlund, and Jan Ruda. So no prospects going to San Jose. So it looks like San Jose prioritized just not retaining any money really on Karlsson rather than getting good prospects back. But I don't know. Coach, I will start with you. Like, what's your reaction to Pittsburgh adding Erik Karlsson? I know how you feel about Karlsson, but, do you think it makes them a better team? Do you think they're more likely to make the playoffs? What are your thoughts?
I mean, a couple of questions come to mind. I mean, obviously, when Carlson went to San Jose, everybody made a big stir because he was going to be with Brett Burns. I think if any coach can handle it, because he's handled Malkin, Crosby, Letang, some big names, he'll be able to figure out how to do that. I think if anybody can do it, which is very important, like Joe Torre had to do with the Yankees, and other big coaches had to do with superstars like Jimmy Johnson in football. The question I have also is who's going to back up Jarry? I mean, he's injury prone. He hasn't been healthy in a couple of years. So that's going to be a big question mark. I mean, not that the Smith was a savior, but they're going to have to get a backup there. It's going to be interesting to see.
They brought in that guy from Carolina with not enough vowels in his last name. Nedeljkovic or whatever his name is. Nedeljkovic.
Oh, okay. I guess they'll
he
figure it out.
he has some promise with the right team.
Well,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's famous for winning with. They won the cup that year with what? That was their 5th goalie of the year, Matt Murray. Wasn't it Matt Murray? I mean, they'll find some way to do it if they're going to do it. They have those superstars that know how to puck manage and handle game situations like that. So, again, when they have leadership like Letang, Crosby, and as much as I don't really like them, Malkin, they're going to find out. They're going to find a way to be successful for sure with that. Adding him to the lineup, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Little Ed, again, I know your thoughts on Carlson, but he's going to put up points, So, I mean, it's definitely going to help Pittsburgh offensively. But overall, I mean, you think it makes Pittsburgh more of a challenge to the Rangers getting? Because I think right now the Rangers are probably a favorite to be in the top 3 in the Metro. I think everyone would agree. They're probably right there with New Jersey and Carolina in that 3 spot. Does this push Pittsburgh up into challenging the Rangers for that? Are you concerned about it at all or no?
I mean, it definitely brings a little bit of concern. I kind of already voiced my opinion on the Carlson trade. I think Dubas is kind of doing what he did in Toronto, but the players are just a lot older, right? I mean, Crosby's obviously a different mind, a different type of player than what Toronto had or has. But you know what I'm trying to say? It's like he's just kind of like building a little bit of a super team again, but everyone that's in that core 5 now, or whatever you want to call it, is like over 30 years old, right? So, I mean, I think that's a problem right there. So they're definitely in the win now mentality. But as far as like a Rangers challenge, I think the Rangers have a great penalty kill, or they have the last couple of years. So, yeah, the power play is going to be lethal, but with a good penalty kill and Igor as the best penalty killer in net, I think they'll do fine there. And then I think the big thing with Laviolette is that he wants to bring – you sent us that article. He wants to bring the high tempo, like giving 100% the whole game type of style of play. So if they put that pressure on Carlson on the back end in the defensive zone, there's no secret what I think about that. I think he'll obviously fall apart. And one of my biggest, not concerns, but thoughts on the trade is I think there's a good chance that at any point in the season, all 4 of these players could be injured. All 4 of them are very accident prone.
Yeah, that's true.
and 5, including the goalie. So, I mean, there's a strong chance that they all could be down at the same time, So I think it's a huge risk that they're taking in that department.
To answer that point about the injuries, I do agree with you. To be devil's advocate, if Letang goes down, you have Carlson. If Carlson goes down, you still have Letang. They've survived all that stuff in the past. It's going to be interesting to see. I think if anybody has to worry, it's the Islanders. They were more on the bubble. If I was an Islanders fan, I'd be like, oh, shit, they're going to take that wild card spot, more so than taking 3rd. Not that they can't take 3rd from the Rangers, but it's going to be it makes it a lot more interesting. I think it's a great move by Dubas because obviously Crosby and Malkin are at the end of their career and they're not going to rebuild with those 2. So you might as well go for another win.
Yeah, I mean, Crosby.
If the opportunity's there, you can't deny it, right? Especially with all the salary and stuff getting split or whatever, divided up, and the 3rd team coming in. Like, you can't say no to that. But at the same time, it's like I was saying before, it's kind of like that super team that Dubas got caught up in Toronto.
I think the difference between the super teams, like you said, is the age, first of all. But aside from that, like Crosby makes $8.7 million.
Mm-hmm.
Malkin makes 6.1. Carlson makes 10. Letang makes 6.1. Toronto, you had 3 guys making over 10 million. It's a lot harder to build depth. I mean, he's still able to bring in like a Riley Smith, a Noah Chari, Ryan Graves. So he's been able to bring in some depth pieces. I think Pittsburgh's a much deeper team this year.
Pittsburgh's paying the entire salary?
Pittsburgh, what, for Carlson?
What did you say before? Yeah, for Carlson.
They're paying $10 million a season. San Jose retained 1.5 out of 11.5. But he's their only player that makes 10 million. Toronto had 3,
Yeah.
So it's a little harder to build a team, and you got 3 guys making 10 million. And Crosby and Malkin, like Coach said, they're signed 2 years. 2 years for Crosby at 8.7, 3 years for Malkin at only 6.1, and Letang's got 5. So there's your window. Go try to win there, and if it fades, then you move Carlson later on and rebuild, right? I mean,
why couldn't Jury do some
coach that
sketchy stuff like that for Tarasenko?
You put them out there, say do something. What do you do? Crosby knows what to do.
You don't coach the power play. You just put Crosby, Malkin, and Jake Gensel out there with Letang and Carlson and let them figure it out. There's no coaching.
They're going to make plays amongst themselves. Crosby does that all the time. It's insane. Yeah.
Mikey, what were you saying? Coach interrupted you.
I said, why couldn't Jury do some sketchy stuff like that for Tarasenko? Get another team.
Yeah, I mean I get it. The difference is the Rangers guys that they could do that with are like Hedl, who's 23 years old, right? And Jury probably doesn't want to trade him. Trocheck has a no move clause. Kreider, no move clause. Trouba, no move clause. So moving guys out to bring guys in is impossible with the Rangers. They'd have to waive those clauses. Panarin, no move clause, right? Whereas the guys that Dubas was able to dump, like Jan Ruda, what's the other guy I said? Granlund, they didn't have those clauses, right? So they can be traded to any team. A little easier to clear salary that way. I would have loved to have kept Tarasenko, obviously, and figured out a way to get him in, but there just isn't a way right now. The Rangers will be able to make changes like that after next season when some of these no move clauses start turning into limited no trade clauses. So the way they structure it is in like the first 3 or 4 years of the deal, it's like a full no move clause. And then after that, it changes to like a 15-team no trade. So, the player can submit to the GM, here are the 15 teams I'll reject, and then the GM has free reign to trade them to the other, 16 teams left or whatever it is.
Wow, that's pretty wild. And by the way, the reason why I interrupted Mike is because I'm not hearing him for some reason.
Oh, well, maybe if you had your headphones on, you'd be able to hear.
Well, I hear you and Eddie. I don't hear him.
Oh, Mike, if you're gonna say something bad, you should say it now. So it's pretty big news, Mike. I didn't get your thoughts on the Carlson move. If you want to share any.
Yeah, obviously it's a big name, but I wouldn't be worried. As Ranger fans, I don't think we're getting bumped out of the playoffs or anything like that. I think Coach had a good point. I think all these bubble teams that we're going to fight for a wild card might have something to say about it, but good for them. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think just stay out of the box, right? When you play Pittsburgh, because then you get Carlson at even strength on defense and just take advantage of that and just stay out of the box because they're going to score in power play. They're going to go 1 for 4, 2 for 3 every game. So,
well, what's going to happen when they play the Rangers. The Rangers are going to give them like 2 5-on-3 advantages. Remember in the playoffs? Not last year, the year before? It was like, how many 5-on-3s is Pittsburgh going to get?
I can already see it now. Hedl gets called for a hook in the neutral zone in like the second period of a 1-1 game, and coach starts texting for the first time in like a week. What an idiot. Bench him. I can already see it. Anyway, so that's around the league. And also, the Rangers themselves, they got some news. Mark Ciaccio, the skills coach, I think I'm saying that right, has been demoted to prospect development coach. Didn't even know there was such a thing. but he's been moved to the prospect development coach, and they've hired Christian Himura, HMURA, as the new skating and skills coach. So we'll see. I mean, Chacho's going to work with the prospects. Noted in this article I'm looking at here, Brendan Othman, Brett Berard, and Adam Sikora before he goes overseas, and Will Cooley as well. So he's still going to be involved in the player development aspect. But I guess the NHL team is going to have a new skills coach. I mean,
I guess that means he goes to AHL. You saying?
No, it doesn't say that. I mean, he's employed by the Rangers, not by Hartford.
I'm saying, so then how's he going to work with those guys if they're playing in the AHL or in juniors or whatever? Or was he just doing it in the summer?
I'm not sure. I guess he's given access to the AHL team, right? That's got to be what happens. You're right. I mean, I get what you're saying, but he's employed by the Rangers probably to work with the players in Hartford. I'm not sure exactly.
My guess
I don't know.
He would bounce back and forth between practice facilities when they're in town.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I really don't know how that works. I'm really interested to like figure out what like an NHL skills coach is actually responsible for, and because by the time you get to the NHL, like you're pretty skilled, right? So I mean,
yeah, but you still have weaknesses. Like, again, I'll go back to when I saw a few Islanders practices. There were guys that just work on one-timers for a few minutes. I mean, yeah, they're very highly skilled, but there's always a spot where they might need. How many times we watch a game? Like I watch, you see a defenseman has trouble turning one way or the other. So, at some point you get away with that in juniors with that kind of talent, but now you get to the NHL, just like in every other sport. It's a whole nother world. You can't have that weakness. So they're gonna eat. You see, we saw Chacho, whatever his name is, working with Adam Fox in that MSG short thing. About getting better foot speed on the turn and the pivot. Those little things that we really don't see. They probably analyze, and they say, "Okay, we got to work on this with Fox." Or the player might go to him and say, "Can you help me work on this?"
Yeah, I was going to say that a lot of the times a player will see like something consistently that's happening in a game that they're not prepared for, or they could capitalize better on, like a quick one-timer in front of the net. I mean, I always bring it back to this, but when they showed in the All or Nothing series on Amazon when Tavares was coming back from an injury, he was working on his timing with the skills coach, like just one-timers in front of the net, his spot on the power play in the high slot, things like that.
Yeah, so I mean that makes sense, I guess. Especially when you're looking at like a younger player, you could say, hey, this guy needs to work on his foot speed, this guy needs to work on his passing or whatever. Makes sense. But so
they also work on like little like stick plays in the corners, like little, like I guess you can call them dangles, and like little things that we see them trying out where you think Hedel and Laffy should do more. Those are the things they're working on in practice, and they're trying to bring them into game ready situations.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, for instance, I think we were talking about it last year, like when you're too close to the crease. So they might work on a situation where he's got to recognize it and time it and back up a step and then have a better angle, shooting angles and stuff that they analyze through the nose,
Yeah, like Zibanejad's really good at that, knowing not to get too close so he can still rip that shot.
I wonder if doesn't Adam Oates analyze players? Maybe they have analytic guys.
He's like a consultant in the summers in the off season. A lot of players work with him, or they'll call him. Yeah, they'll send him video and then do it over the phone, I believe.
I'm saying, but maybe
him on
then
the side. Yeah,
maybe they would take that information to their skills coach and say, I'd like to do this.
Yeah, I bet.
There's so much information out there.
I mean, we might have
so much information.
No, I'm trying to say the New York Post article says that Chacho actually wanted the role change, and he's going to be working under Jed Ortmeyer. Himura, what's interesting about this, Coach, there's hope for you. He was coaching with the Chicago Mission. He was coaching with the Chicago Mission and got hired directly to the Rangers as a skills coach. The Chicago Mission is a AAA youth hockey club. So I mean, he coached 13 to 15-year-olds.
Sure,
his only other-
I'm sure somewhere along the line he's a highly skilled power skating instructor who coincidentally coaches a AAA midget team. I mean, what's his name on the Carolina coach? He coached a AAA team when the guy called him and said, "Come and coach the Hurricanes."
Brindamore.
Brindamore. So there are guys like
St. Louis was
Ricard.
coaching the Squirts.
Yes, I
Yeah.
mean, there are guys out there who have played at a high level who are coaching youth teams, and then they get called by a friend who they know or whatever.
Yeah, so Dan Muse, the Rangers' new assistant coach, apparently worked with him with the Chicago Mission. They had a connection there, so he probably has recommended him or something. So it's just about who you know. Sometimes you get that opportunity. So congrats to Christian, and hopefully he can help develop these young prospects we have that we're kind of a little bit disappointed in. Hopefully they could take a step and we can credit him. Don't know, I'm not saying it was Chacho's fault or anything, but sometimes change is good. And, I'm glad he's staying in the organization too. Can't have too many skills coaches, I guess.
Well, one last thing I'll say about that is also giving them the confidence to actually translate into game situations, like I said. So that's a huge responsibility for the coach as well.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. 36 years old. That's it. So little Ed, do well with Stony Brook. Never know.
Yeah.
Might get that call.
You never know. You never know.
But yeah, other than that, we're still waiting for Laffy to sign. Nothing on that. I haven't seen any rumors about that. I don't know what they're waiting for.
So what's going to happen? You're going to start training camp? What's going on?
He's got to sign before training camp so he can, join them for training camp. I don't know what they're waiting for.
The media is going to go bonkers.
What the heck could he hold out for? He hasn't done anything.
That's what I mean. Like,
it's not
something's got to be happening. What's taking so long to sign him? Like, what could possibly be taking so long?
The only argument he has is look at what all these young kids are getting paid on long-term deals. And the only reason I don't have that is because you keep me on the third line. If you played me on the first line of the power play, I'd be making $8 million. And now you want to give me $2 million? That's the only argument he has, but he's going to get traded if he takes that stance. So,
yeah, he does kind of have the stats because doesn't he have the most even strength goals or something, or he's tied with Zibanejad?
He has more. I think I read it, and I don't want to be incorrect. So, Mikey produced these. Look this up. He has more even strength goals than Chris Kreider last year. The year before that, Kreider had 52, and he had like 27 power play goals. Something
Might
crazy.
Have to look back at the Kreider man tracker.
I think the stat was actually even including Kreider's 50 goal season. I think Laffy has more even strength goals than Kreider in the last 2 years. But I don't know. We'll have to hockey reference that. Maybe after the interview.
I thought they compared it to
we'll give Mikey
as well.
some time to look it up. Yeah, and Zibby, well, those guys score a lot of power play goals. I mean, they score a lot.
Well, I'm saying like he might have
power play goals.
What I'm saying, he might have that argument. I'm backing up what you said.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he should take that stance because at the end of the day, it's more than just stats. Like he just doesn't take over games or anything. Even on a third line. I mean, as a third liner, you're playing against third pairing defensemen. You'd expect, dominance if that's the case. So there's a counter argument. And if he takes that position, like I said, Drury's going to have to trade him because we don't have the cap space. And Drury doesn't seem like a very tolerant guy for that kind of attitude. I'm speculating, though. I'm not saying he's taking that attitude. It could just be they have a deal in place and they're just like, hey, let's keep the cap space open until the last second and we'll sign in the dotted line right before camp. Who knows?
Maybe they're going to make another move or something that they're waiting for or something.
Mikey, do me a favor. Can you look up when Capo Caco signed his 2-year deal last year? Well, I want to know the date, if it was July or August. Can Mike hear me? He's just ignoring me. I like to give Mike things to look up, like multiple things at a time so that he can't do it. And then I guess I could always do it myself. I'm curious though. I think Kako signed pretty late. Also, I want to say like early August or something like that.
I think
But
it was
anyway.
July. I think it was earlier.
I don't
I think they
remember.
signed him right away, kind of. But we'll see.
No, we'll see when Mikey looks it up. But
Seeing, I don't
I
know
don't trust it
exactly
because
when.
I can't hear him. You're gonna say what you want.
Late July.
late July, Coach.
All right, so you said early August. I said more like July.
You said early on.
I said
I
earlier
feel like
on.
Little Ed, is
July.
early August closer to late July than early on would? Because vague term early on would be.
Early on in what terms?
Yeah, like what does that
Early on in
even
what
mean? You didn't
regard?
even.
I said earlier.
You said no. You said early on.
And right now it's not. First of all, it's almost the end of August, as Uncle Tony would say.
It's August 9th.
I know Uncle Tony's go. August is over.
What?
Well, like it's August 9th. Oh, it's just a family joke.
No, that's funny. That is, I don't get it, but it's hilarious. So here, let's see what it says here. July 28th, 2022. So end of July. According to Cap Friendly. I mean, it's August 9th. I mean, there's still guys unsigned too around the league. Like, I look at other restricted free agents. Trevor Zegras hasn't signed yet. Jamie Drysdale hasn't signed. Shane Pinto, Evan Bouchard in Edmonton. So, I mean, there's a lot of good RFAs who haven't signed. So, who the hell knows? I'm not worried about it yet. I'll worry if training camp rolls around and he's not signed. Then I'll start to be concerned. But
when does training camp start? Mike, look up when training camp starts.
You can't hear me anyway.
He said
you
you
can't
can't hear
hear
him
me
anyway.
How? Oh, we'll talk
Do
about
sign
it.
language.
Yeah.
So training camp
I'd
set to
say-
start September 21, Coach, end of September. And the regular season starts in
Grandpa's
October.
birthday.
There you go. So looks like it starts like right after
So there's only
Your-
2 weeks of
wait,
training
what's your
camp?
birthday? Your birthday is the 14th, right?
Yeah.
So
There's
it's
only
like
2
a week
weeks
after
of
your
training.
birthday.
There's only 2 weeks of training camp.
Apparently. I
Wow.
think training camp is games technically, so there's probably like a team training camp that starts before that schedule. Right? Like they probably meet for like 2 weeks, whittle the roster down a little, all that stuff. So I don't know. We can get the answer. We'll talk about it after the interview. But maybe we should
Yeah,
toss it
let's-
over to the interview now.
I was just gonna say that. Let's get Rico on.
All right, so let's toss it over to Eric Rico Ricard.
Let's go.
So we're proud to welcome to the Rangers Ed podcast former 5th round pick in the 1989 NHL draft of the LA Kings, defenseman Eric Rico Ricard. What's up, Rico?
What's up, boys? Rangers.
Thanks for
Thanks for
joining
joining
us.
us, Rico.
Right now.
I should have
that?
said star of Lucarelli Law. Really?
Wow,
as the
that's
intro.
that's the highlight of my career. Are you kidding me? That's 100 pounds to put that team.
I heard a lot of stories about those games, but I never
Oh my
witnessed one.
gosh. It was the best time of my career is to play for Lucarelli Law.
And how's Dominic? He's the goalie, right?
Oh, is that what you called him? A goalie?
I guess he tries
Uh,
back there.
That's
I
funny.
thought he was a peon in front of the net. I think my save percentage is better than Dominic. All the games I played with him.
Oh man, that is funny. So, dude, thanks for joining us, man. This is gonna be a fun interview. I already know.
So obviously, as you can see, whenever you're hanging out with Dominic and his fellow players,
Yeah,
all they're doing is jabbing each other.
with him was
What?
all right.
What did
We're
you say?
back.
What did you say? You cut out there.
Lost them.
All right.
All right. We
Are
see
we
you,
back?
Rico. Didn't hear you though. Can you hear us?
Mike is gonna have his work cut out for him.
We're having a lot of difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just hang tight until you can stabilize the connection.
We have a lot of difficulties. Like, I got you.
I feel like we're talking to someone in the lunar module.
It happens. It's the way it is.
No, I hear you.
Nice.
Mike might actually
Are we
have to
back
edit
now?
an episode.
Are we better?
Be okay.
That sounds better.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I
the
just
last thing
moved the
Coach said
hotspot,
is
so hopefully it's gonna work.
the last thing Coach said to you was on Lucarelli Law, everybody's jabbing at each other.
Except me.
Whenever-
I was a peacemaker.
Yeah, whenever I'm down there to see Dominic, one of his fellow hockey players, they're always like needling each other. It's fun.
Yeah, I stay all that. I'm not that kind of guy, so I'm sure Dominic would totally agree with that.
I never know when
So-
Dom's telling the truth, so that's going to be a tough one. The toughest thing I got from Dominic is when I didn't eat my mushrooms and he gave me the death stare, like I took his firstborn.
What was the rest of the meal? You gotta go through the rest of
It
the
was
meal.
pasta with mushrooms and garlic and oil. So I don't eat mushrooms, and the garlic and oil pasta was delicious. So I'm separating it. I ate all the pasta, and I was like the second time I was at it, I met him, and I just see him looking at my plate the whole meal.
That's
and
like
I'm
a
eating the-
Seinfeld episode where he's
Yeah,
like, then you
I'm
don't
eating
get
the
the
bre-
invite
I'm
back
eating-
to his house.
Yeah, I'm eating the bread, I'm eating the pasta, drinking the wine, and he keeps talking and like just looking at my plate, not saying a word. Then the next day we're golfing, and he goes, "By the way, what was up? What's up? Why didn't you eat the mushrooms?" I said,
That's a Curb
I don't
Your
like
Enthusiasm episode.
He's bringing it up like a week later.
Shit, you brought it up 2 weeks ago when I was down there, a week ago when I was down there.
Yeah, and
So
it was
he's
like
still
3
bringing it up.
years ago.
Still holding.
God.
Can't do this
I got-
anytime, apparently.
So
I got to
anyway,
know though, what are your PIMs in that league? Because I looked at your PIMs in the queue.
Oh,
And,
no, I was quiet. I was old and overweight. I couldn't do anything in that league.
Okay.
All I know is I grabbed one guy, one game, and he never played again after that, so I don't know.
You
on a
grab him?
serious note, you watch hockey today. What, like in 1989, you obviously played heavily in the 80s, late 80s. What do you see as the big difference? It's such a different game now.
Well, it's a totally different game. Taking the red light out, the red line was a huge deal. Made the game so much faster, and that's why the guys today are so much faster. And with all the concussions that protocols they have today and everything, the hitting is a little less. Even if there's still a lot of hittings in the playoff and stuff, but you watch a regular season, the guys take care of themselves a little bit more today. They're not as rough as they used to be when I played. A concussion didn't exist when I played, so the game today is so much faster. The guys train more. I mean, they take a couple of weeks off after the season and they start training again. So the guys are in my opinion, way better shape. They're much faster. They're much bigger. And the game, it's a great game to watch, but it's a totally different game than when I played.
I mean, back when you played in the off season, a lot of guys had jobs, right? They weren't able to. I remember the Islanders. A lot of guys worked on on Wall Street. You know, they had second jobs. They weren't making those salaries.
Oh, absolutely. My first contract, my NHL salary was $95,000.
I mean,
Wow.
that's not a bad salary back then. I mean,
Back then, but today the minimum is what? Is it 925, 870, 925? I think.
yeah, no, that's a big difference.
Huge
A little
difference.
bit.
I think he could survive on that.
Well, cousin had
Yeah,
touched
not
on
that
a
I
little
was
bit.
drinking. Not that I was drinking.
Cousin had touched on it a little bit. You say how much the game has changed. How is it mathematically possible to get 362 penalty minutes in 65 games in
You
a
fight a
junior
lot.
league in a junior season?
You fight a lot.
How much is a lot? Because that is a lot. Were they dishing out? How many minute penalties was it back then?
That's 5.5 penalty minutes a game, by the
fighting.
way.
Yeah, so it's a fight was 5, and then a game misconduct. They would count a game misconduct for 10 minutes. So 3-5 game misconduct right there is 25 minutes. I mean,
Okay, that makes sense.
there's one game in the coast with Florida at 26 minutes. What was it? 25, 5, 15, 25, 27 PIM in one period.
What
That's
is,
insane.
what
I
did
mean,
what did your coach say? Did he encourage this? What? I mean, obviously you
it's
got
just like
drafted.
the first fight was the guy hit the goalie, so I dropped him, and then their tough guy came after me, and then at the end of the period there was a line brawl. So that was it for the game.
And that's
Oh my god!
and that's pretty much non-existent now. The brawls.
Oh, it doesn't
Yeah, that
happen.
doesn't happen anymore.
But that year in junior, I didn't have the most on the team.
Oh my!
I was second most on the team.
Who was
In that-
first?
Daniel Lacroix.
Wow, I think I remember him.
Ex-Ranger.
Yeah.
Ex-Ranger. Had
See that
400
tied
and
in.
something that year.
Oh my god!
See that? Tied in.
We
So when
three
did he-
guys we had 1,000 PM.
That's
Wow.
unreal.
Did you ever play 5-on? Did you ever play 5-on-5 on that team?
That year was tough.
Well,
Dan
it seemed
Fry- So we were down. If we were down in the game that year, if we were down in the game in the third period, Dan's fun was to hit the goalie.
Dude, Daniel
Coach
Lacroix.
Ed still preaches that.
Daniel Lacroix.
Daniel
His fun
Lacroix
was to hit
in
goalies.
in that same season that we just said, Rico, that you had 362 PIMs. I just looked it up. Daniel Lacroix had 466 penalty minutes in 58 games and 74 points as well, which is pretty good.
god!
That's pretty good for 466 PIMs, man.
When did
So
he get
that year-
drafted?
Dan never sat on the players' bench that year. He was
Couldn't
either
do
in the penalty box or on the ice.
He got drafted 87 round 2 by the Rangers. He only played
Yep.
I can't believe I remember him. He played 30 games with the Rangers. That's it. But
Yeah, I know. We played against, and he was in Binghamton, and I was
Yep.
in New Haven. But
Yeah, so-
we had a lot of fights that year. My dad actually stopped coming and see me because I was fighting too much. He told me, my mom told me, your dad says, when you start playing hockey, he's gonna come back.
That's rough.
that is
Sounds like
funny.
sounds like my father would.
I mean, big guys back then was like I was 6'4", 2. That year in junior it was maybe 220.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a monster for back then.
Back then I was a big guy. Dan was big guy. Dan was like 6'3", 6'4". I mean, we had to do what we had to do to get noticed, and we played in the Q, where it's just a fancy league. So we had to be noticed. I mean, I didn't have the skill to be like a Eric Desjardins, or which I played with in junior. Like, I didn't have those skills, so I had to do what I had to do to get drafted somehow.
Yeah, so I was going to say, it looks like you made a name for yourself with those 362 PIMs because you got drafted the following year. So what was that experience like? Was your dad kind of regretting what he was feeling? Because it seems like that's how you made it.
My dad never regretted anything.
Well, take us through the draft experience.
Well, it was crazy because I was ranked 10th round, and
How many rounds were back then? Now they have 7.
I
But
think
there's
back
like,
then it was like 10 or 11.
yeah.
And the draft was in Minnesota, so my folks didn't have the money for me to go over there. So the day of the draft, my folks were at home, and they got the phone call from Vachon, who was the GM for LA back then, and asked if I was home. And my dad goes, "No, he's not home right now." He goes, "Well, we just drafted him in the 5th round. Tell him that I'm going to give him a call. I'm going to give him a call tomorrow." And my dad was like, "Excuse me?" I was actually playing softball during the day.
He was
And,
he was like Frank Costanza. You drafted who?
yeah, exactly. My dad was like 5th round. So
Is there something wrong with you?
My dad drove to the field, and when he pulled in, I looked at him and I was like, my dad wasn't supposed to be there. I was like, "What the hell are you doing there?" And he looked at me and he goes, "It's done." I was like, "Holy shit, already?" That was my reaction. And all my buddies were with me. And that night, I ended up partying with Dan Lacroix. He's the one who brought me home.
That's
I
funny.
won't tell you what time in the morning, but he's the one who drove me home.
So
Right.
Well, I think it's safe to share a story.
So it was fun.
You said you played with Desjardins in juniors. You played with Pierre Turgeon there too, right?
Yeah, my first year. I don't know if you have the stat in front of you. I think I had like 47 games that year, and I had like, I don't know how many PIMs, but just divide the PIMs by 5, and that's how many shifts I played that year.
13.
Played with Quintal, Desjardins, Lacroix.
What was Turgeon like? I'm curious. I mean, he's a number 1 overall pick,
Very
Hall of
quiet
Famer. Quiet?
He was very quiet. Always wanted to win. Any drill that you were doing, either after practice or before practice, we were doing drill or fun games and stuff, always wanted to win. Had to win. But it was amazing. The talent that he had, it was just phenomenal. Very quiet guy, very nice guy. He was a real gentleman, man. Even back then, he was a real gentleman. It was a lot of fun. That year, I think out of the 24 guys on the team, I think 13 of them were drafted. My first year junior. Wow. It was a crazy team. We lost in the first round of the playoff, unfortunately, but they all thought that we were the team to go to the Memorial Cup, and we lost in the first round.
Now, you're from where?
I grew up east of Montreal, about 45 minutes east of Montreal, a small town called Saint-Césaire.
And where was Turgeon from?
Turgeon was from...
I mean, did you guys have running... Did you guys know each other from youth hockey and stuff, or?
No, we never played against each other in youth hockey. It was like way too far. It was probably a 10-hour drive from where I'm from.
Oh, okay.
Against each other.
Gotcha.
Rico, can you repeat that, please?
Back home, it's very regional.
Yeah, just repeat that. You cut out for a second. So you never played against Turgeon?
No, not in youth hockey because we live too far away from. Back home, youth hockey is a lot. It's all regional. I mean, there's a rink. I mean, I grew up in a town of 5,000 people, and we had a rink. So
Right.
there's
So
a
it's
rink
regional
everywhere.
within Quebec. It was regional, like even within Quebec. Like
Within Quebec, it's regional. Like Turgeon probably grew up about 8 to 10 hour drive from where I grew up.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
That's a lot further.
man, that's
So-
far.
Yeah, people don't realize how big the province is.
So my only dealing with Montreal was we went on a tournament up there at what was it called? Four Glaciers.
Yeah, and Brossard.
And me and my buddy Joey Dolls ended up pounding a few Labatt's Blue with Gilles Gilbert, who recently passed away.
Yeah, I saw that this week. It's so sad.
Yeah. Not that old of a guy either. Yeah. You ever meet them or anybody like
Don't help yourself. Don't help yourself. You was pretty old.
Oh,
But he
man,
was a
that's
great
funny.
guy. We sat there for like an hour and a half. He was telling stories about Bobby Hull and
Yeah.
all kinds of old time stories. It was great.
He was definitely a goaltender that had a lot of stories, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Back in those days, I remember the stories about Guy Lafleur because I grew up watching Montreal, obviously. The story was like he was drinking a 25 pack and smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
Who, Gilles Gilbert?
No, Guy Lafleur.
Really? I know he smoked. I remember that because he'd be in like they showed him in the
Yeah,
alleyway.
Like back in the days, it was different.
So what are your stories about the Canadians when you were growing up? They were obviously a powerhouse all those years.
Yeah, well, they were good. I was actually a Quebec Nordiques fan.
Oh, wow.
And when they moved to Colorado, I became a Bruins fan.
Ooh.
Wow.
So,
In Quebec?
yep, it's very rare.
So I guess that's how you started your fighting career, wearing a Bruins jersey up there.
No, I actually my first fight in junior was training camp. I fought the guy that I played midget hockey 2 years in a row with. That was my first fight, and it went on from there. You had to learn. I had to learn to fight because everybody would come for the big guy. So,
Well, give us a good fighting story when you were in the AHL and sniffing out the bigs.
in the AHL, well, a good fighting story. My first training camp with LA, I walked in because our camp was in the whole of Quebec. The first camp I went to because Gretzky owned the team, the junior team there. And I walked in, and the visitors' side was all changed. And I've been there for 3 years now, playing against these guys. And it was all changed, like carpets everywhere. And there was a door walking in. I opened the door. The first 2 guys I see was Jay Miller and Marty McSorley.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
That's when I decided I was going to play hockey. These 2 guys were enormous.
I better learn. What'd you say?
I'm looking at these 2 guys. I'm like, there is no way I'm going to fight these guys.
I better learn how to start skating backwards quick.
Oh, hell yeah. My problem has always been skating forward. I was a defenseman, so I knew how to skate backward. Skate forward.
Other than meeting those 2, what was the rest of the training camp experience like?
Oh, well, it was amazing. I mean, come on. You show up at the camp, and the 2 guys sitting next to me was, on one side was Larry Robinson, and the other side was Steve Duchesne. I'm like,
Wow.
Wow.
like, my jaw dropped. I was like, holy cow. Like, that first camp was so amazing. And then you
What was it, like alphabetical or something?
Well, no, there were so many players. Yeah, they divided the team in 4 teams, and we played like a tournament.
Wow.
That was training camp. There was 95 players at training camp
Wow.
for a week, and so we divided the team in. They divided in 4 teams, and on my team I had Larry Robinson and Steve Duchesne, and they were sitting right next to me. and I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. And and then you walk in the hallway, and you see Gretzky coming down, walking, where it's like, like triple X underwear when he should wear a small, and bitching because it was too early, and you're looking at him, and you're like, dude, you're Wayne Gretzky.
What do you even
do what you want to do?
Yeah, at least he showed up to training camp, I guess.
So it was amazing. I was very fortunate to be part of that, and being able to experience ice time with Gretzky and all these phenomenal players with LA back in the days. And
did you get on Gretzky's team in camp?
No, I was not.
So what was it like defending him?
I had Dave Taylor, I had Kelly Rudy was our goalie. Duchesne and Robinson was the top D.
Robitaille, Bernie.
Yeah, I went to dinner with Steve Duchesne, Luc Robitaille, Frankie Bro, who played in LA for a few games, Couturier, Sean Couturier's father, Sly, Ron Fournier, who was the referee. So we all went to dinner. So you're sitting at the table and they're ordering a shitload of food and everything, and you're like, who's paying for all this?
They're like, hey, rookie, you got the check, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
You're like, excuse me? But that was a hell of a, like, we were at dinner for like 4 hours. Like the jokes, these guys, like, it's such a different mentality. It's such a different world. And you're coming from the juniors and you're like, you're nobody, and you're sitting around the table, and being able to experience this is a hell of an experience.
That's cool.
That's
That's
awesome.
amazing. Yeah, Little Ed asked you, I don't know if you heard, but did you get a chance to like defend Gretzky in those scrimmages or any games or anything?
I won 3-on-2 with Gretzky, Sundstrom, and Granado.
Oh
Wow.
boy.
Was
How'd
that in the
that
net or?
And I'm looking at my partner, like we started from between the offensive blue line and the red line, and I'm looking at my partner, and he's looking at me like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And there was a shot from the wing, and they missed the net. So when they missed the net, I immediately went to the bench. I'm like, yeah, next.
Can't ruin the shit.
Yeah,
That's it.
That was crazy. That will be for the rest of my life the best 3-on-2 I ever had in my life.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
That's your claim to fame. I didn't let Gretzky score on the 3-on-2.
Yeah.
My claim to fame is to play for Luke Really Law.
That's the career. That's the big career move.
so you don't make the team, right, at a camp. So you go to the AHL. I mean, were you really not expecting to make the team, or were you like disappointed? What was it like that first training camp?
No, I was not expecting to make the team at all. I mean, to be honest with you, there was only 2 spots open on the team, and there was 95 of us, so obviously it's not going to work. But now, a week later, they called me in. They sent me down to the AHL to New Haven, and even that, I had to make the team in New Haven because I was only 20 years old. So sometimes they do send you back to juniors. So I still had to fight during training camp to make the team, because my first camp I showed up with a shoulder surgery. So I had to fight in New Haven to make sure that I make the team and all this, and they decided to keep me, which was good, but eventually the shoulder gave up. So, but it was a good experience in New Haven. My first year roommate was impressive.
Who's that?
For to you.
Oh, no way.
Nicky.
So my first year, my roommate was Nick Fotillo. I had two roommates. I had Scott Young, the defenseman from Canada, not the forward. So Scott Young and Nick Fotillo were my roommate my first year. Could barely speak English.
Now, Nicky
couldn't-
was cousin Ed, who's my brother. That was his favorite player.
Oh, no way, huh?
Yeah. And did you ever want to drop him against Nicky? Because to me, in the 80s, early 80s, he was one of the toughest in the league. Not because I'm a Rangers fan, but he didn't lose. He didn't lose many fights.
I think Ty Domi, Bob Probert, Nick Fotillo, maybe a couple more from the 70s, were the toughest NHL player I've ever seen.
Yeah, Nicky was a tough guy, but Ty
Joey
Domi had
Kosar,
that
too.
Yeah, but Probert was crazy. But Ty Domi had that look in his eye. But Nicky was a nice guy. He had to be provoked, kind of.
Oh, you was?
I mean, I thought so. When you talk to him, I've talked to him when they used to practice by us. We used to go see them, and he was always a pleasant guy. Ty Domi, you see him in an interview, he didn't look,
Friendly.
Yeah, Nick Fotillo was really nice. I mean, I say he was because the hallway upstairs. So the bedrooms were all upstairs. We had a 2-story home, and the hallway was probably maybe 2.5 feet wide.
Oh my God!
And we had a house on the water in New Haven, in East Haven actually, and he would grab me and throw me from wall to wall and just yell at me like, "You got to be tougher, kid. You got to be tougher." And I'm like, "Tougher? You're fucking Nick Fotillo. Nobody's tougher than you." Tougher.
And that was the end of his career.
Yeah, it was. He was like, I was 20 years old. Nick was like 38, I think.
Yeah,
that was what the hell? And he would grab me. I was like, I'm 6'4", 225 pounds, and he would grab me, lift me, and throw me from side to side. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you?
I just remember seeing him in person, and his hands were literally like a catcher's glove.
Oh, absolutely.
His hands were just enormous.
But he would yell at me, "You got to be tougher. You got to be tougher." And then in practice, he would come to me and just like,
That's great.
"You gotta be tougher. You gotta be tougher." And I'm like, I'm 20 years old. I barely understand what you're saying to me. Anyway, I don't speak the language. So, but it was fun. And that year, I mean, Nick was playing. Our player assistant coach was Tim Bothwell.
Oh wow, I remember him.
Our GM was Pat Hickey.
Pat Hickey was another one of my brother's favorites. He supposedly used to hang out with him down at a bar in Long Beach, where the Rangers used to hang out because they all lived down in Long Beach in the late 70s.
Yeah.
So I used to say, yeah, Pat, you don't know. My brother's name is Pat also. I say, yeah, you're right. You talked to him. We were at a game one time in the warm-up, and he yelled at him, and Hickey came over and banged the glass and said hello.
Really? That's awesome.
It wasn't a lie, so
That's
it was pretty cool.
And then he was probably like, "Yeah, see, I told you."
Yeah.
I had Bothwell was he was in his mid 30s for sure.
Yeah, he had to be because
And
Bothwell, I think, was
he
in.
was
I
all
think
out. It was
Bothwell.
every day he was all out.
Yeah.
And my D partner was Murray Bromwell. He was like 30 years old and always wanted to do the drill first. So I had to do the drill first without knowing what the drill was because the coach had to speak for more than 10 minutes. So I was lost. So I had no idea what he was saying. Bothwell would go crazy on me because I had no clue what to do. Murray was like yelling at me what to do. I couldn't that first year was probably the toughest year of my life.
So they didn't have any translators on staff like they do now for the European players
I had
and
to
stuff.
learn the language and play to a level. Well, luckily there was 5 of us that were French Canadian on the team, So most of the guys would yell in French to me what to do. Because at one point,
Come
I
on, it
did
couldn't
a
have been-
session with the coach. No idea what he was talking about.
Rico
Like,
couldn't have been.
hockey
Rico
lingo?
couldn't have been that hard. Mario Lemieux did it.
Well, let's say that the skill level was a little different too.
No, on a serious note, the common denominator you've been saying about these players is their compete level, their desire to win. They want to be in front. Did you learn anything from that? Did you try to push yourself a little more when you saw that?
Well, I think now you're getting a little personal now.
Well, you know,
So
It's
you,
an interview.
you are seeing it, and you don't have a choice. You do get better, but then sometimes there's things that you do off ice that doesn't help you,
gotcha.
and I think people have they have such a better understanding today of what's going on in the player's mind and what players do, and players are a little more careful about it too, but the one that falls hard, they have a lot of help today where when I played, you had a concussion, you're next shift. Didn't matter if you had a concussion, you were next shift. You're banged up the next morning, you go to practice, the coach didn't give a shit. If you didn't give your 100%, he didn't give a shit what you did the night before. You wouldn't play the next game. But there was no help to help the players and get there and make things happen. Where they do today a lot more.
Right.
And I fall into some bad area, and unfortunately, I didn't help myself. I got hurt the first year. I had a shoulder surgery. The second year, I had a hernia, so I had a stomach surgery at the beginning of the year. And they transferred me from New Haven to Phoenix because LA had 2 farm teams that year, so AHL and IHL, and Phoenix was not good for me. And then the third year, they sent me to back to New Haven on the independent team. Our coach was Doug Carpenter, so the compete level was really high. But Doug comes from the old days. I don't care what you do, as long as you do your job on the ice. And then that year I was having a pretty good year. I ended up breaking my leg in Springfield, Mass. And I was out for 9 weeks.
Wow.
So all these little things plus the personal things that I was going through didn't help. The fourth year, it was really hard to get a contract, and finally got a chance to go to Montreal's camp, and they shipped me to the AHL right away, and that didn't help. I got in trouble with the coach, and so you go down to AA.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, the injuries it's a lot too. I mean,
yeah, the injuries and the bad decisions that you make off ice sometimes is a killer. And it doesn't matter what kind of talent you have, it will kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not trying to ask you about things that are personal like that, but
It's all good.
I'm curious with the rehab process back then. I mean, you're talking like early 90s. So you said you had a hernia, you had a shoulder surgery, and you broke your leg.
Yeah.
So like what involvement did the team have in your rehab at that point? I'm curious because now the teams are like they have like 20 trainers and doctors. Are they making you go to your own doctor? Like, was it like?
So LA decided my shoulder was my first year. So I had decided to have my surgery done by Dr. I think his last name was Lynch from Yale University. So apparently he was a top doctor and all this, but that happened in February. By April, we're done. I was still in sling, so my rehab happened back in Quebec. So I had to find a physical therapist to do my rehab, make sure that I was ready for the following year. Shoulder was good throughout the summer. We finally got the shoulder pretty good, and then we ended up having to went back to the second camp. Everything is good. Second camp doing okay. I'm pretty happy with what's going on, and they sent me back to New Haven, obviously because I didn't play much the first year. Showed up in New Haven for the camp, and I couldn't skate. No idea what happened. I went from camp to home to pack, and right to New Haven. And first practice, couldn't skate. So 2 weeks, the trainer was trying to figure out what was going on. And eventually they sent me to a doctor in Montreal to do the surgery. So the team didn't have to pay for it.
Wow.
So
You're on your own.
yeah. And then I went back to New
Crazy.
Haven after the surgery and just waited and started to skate, and everything was fine. Everything was good, and ended up playing. And Christmas time, they sent me to Phoenix for 3 games and 3 nights. And they ended up keeping me in Phoenix, but then they wouldn't play me. Where in New Haven, I knew I was going to play because at that point, it was Nick and Pat Hickey, our coach. There were our 2 coaches.
So Fatiou transferred from player to coach?
So the following year, our coach, Como, had a heart attack during a video session.
My
Oh my
gosh.
God.
So they brought in, so Pat Hickey took
You guys
over.
were that bad? Just kidding.
He's like, Jesus, Rico, what are you doing out there?
Ah!
He was yelling at me quite a bit. Don't worry about it. So, Pat Hickey took over, and they brought in Nick to coach with him. So our 2 coaches was Pat Hickey and Nick Fatiou. What a combo!
And the last season before that, he's throwing you up against the wall in the hall.
And then the season before that, he's throwing me against the wall, telling me to be tough. The following year he's yelling at me that I wasn't tough enough. So, but it was a lot of fun. I had such a good time with these guys. But yeah, when you got injured back in the day, and I broke my leg, I was in cast. All I had to do was wait until the doctor said, you know what, your bones are good, you can go back. That's all.
Look, nowadays,
I
all
would
over
do
the
the cardio with my arms, and I would lift in the training room, but training room was probably as big as my truck. So
Yeah, I was watching this documentary as a football one, but the guy had like a high ankle sprain.
Yep.
And for like weeks, every day for like 2 hours, they have like a masseuse who like knows exactly where to rub the leg right above the ankle to like push the blood towards the. I'm just thinking like when you said all those injuries, I'm like, he didn't have that, you know. There's no way.
No way.
Nowadays, it's just crazy.
we had 1 trainer and 1 equipment manager.
Jeez.
Wow.
That was it. And the trainer would do what an assistant equipment manager would do most of the time. So that poor guy. I mean, that poor guy worked so hard. These guys were probably sleeping at the rink all the time. I mean, it's ridiculous the work that these 2 guys had to do. And the trainer had to fix the guys to play. I mean, I remember, was it my 2nd year or my 3rd year? I think it was my 3rd year. We would go through a bottle of Sudafed for the team.
My God.
That's how you played hockey. I mean,
That's
you're
wild.
hurting. You got to find a way not to be hurting when you play. So, and your goal is to move up. I mean, I played with guys that would come down from the show. Like these guys were all pissed off and everything, and the last thing they wanted to be was the AHL. I was so happy to be there, but for these guys, it was like it was a nightmare for them.
You got to give us another Nick Fatiou story. One that you're willing to tell.
Well, they took us to our first trip when these two guys started to coach, they took us to a restaurant in New York. So we had a road trip going down to Hershey, and we stop in New York. And Nick is looking at us, was like, "Oh, we're gonna stop for dinner. Don't worry about it. Just walk in, have a seat. We'll take care of you guys." And Nick is laughing behind. He's like, so I knew Nick pretty well from being a roommate the year before, and he's laughing and all this. And I was like, "What the hell is going on?" So we walked in, and Ron Duguay was in there, and Krishna was in there with Carol Holt, and Nick was like, "See, that's the pleasure of being in the show, kid." He goes, "If you make it to the show, this is what you're going to experience, kid."
Was it a famous New York City restaurant?
I to be honest with you, I really don't remember the name. I just remember the experience. Like walking in with there was two other NHLers, but Carol Holt was there, so you got to pay attention to what's going on.
So who was there? Greshna?
Krishna,
Yeah.
She was married to him.
Yeah, I saw her walking in the hallway one time.
Yeah. So, and Nick would only repeat, like, "If you make it to the show, kid, this is the life you're gonna have. You gotta make it to the show. This is what you experience in the show." It's like,
That's funny.
"Yeah, Nick, if you continue to coach me, I don't think I'm gonna make it to the show, but okay."
Maybe you should step down, Nick.
No, but seriously, he was a very, very nice guy. I mean, he still had his house on Long Island, I believe, and you would commute a lot the first year, so he wasn't at the house that often, but he would come down and see his family in Long Island and stuff, and always willing, but paid his fair share of rent, and always make sure that we had food in the fridge, and the guy was very nice. I was very blessed to have Nick my first year, because even if it was sometimes tough, but he was expecting the best. And as a player my size, he's been around the league for so long that he knew what was coming and what I needed to do. So I was very blessed to have Nick as my roommate. I mean, yeah, he was a little crazy sometimes, but hey, after all these punches, I would probably be the same today. It's crazy shit. It's crazy shit.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess going off the Fatillo, was he, after he shook you against the walls, is that when you decided to play roller hockey? I see on your profile here.
No,
Is that professional roller hockey?
That was the best summer job ever, my friend.
I was gonna say you didn't have to be tough in roller hockey, I would imagine.
Well, look at my pim. Maybe I was.
Well, yeah, I mean, I got to hear about that. Was that a professional league back then? It looks like in Montreal area.
We had fights. We had fights in roller hockey. So all the guys that played in the minors or double A, which I call double A, which is like the coast, in those leagues. So we had to work in the summer, and when that league was created, we were we're not making a lot of money, but enough to survive for the week, and they were paying for the apartments and stuff. But it's the same guys that you played ice against. So,
right,
like, there was a lot of line brawls and a lot of shit like this, because I mean, you play against these guys 10 out of 12 months a year. Eventually, there's a lot of bad blood out there, you know.
Yeah, leftover.
So even if it was a fun job for summer, games could get tough. And
yeah, I'm looking at this. It's you played in a league called Roller Hockey International. The league existed, it looks like, for 6 years. There are teams all over the country. So you traveled for it too, right? I mean, you had road games and stuff like that.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. So the first year I played in Oakland, we played all the way up to Vancouver. We played in Oklahoma City, Phoenix,
Yeah.
San Diego, I think. We played San Jose,
This is
Anaheim.
wild. It's like I'm looking at this is
It
a
was
really cool
crazy.
concept.
So the
Long Island Jaws.
the concept was phenomenal. The business world behind it was stupid.
Right.
I mean, we played. I remember Anaheim. They would draw. The Anaheim would probably draw like 8,000 or 9,000 because they had a good team. Vancouver would draw like 6,000-7,000 people.
That's a
Oakland,
lot.
was that?
That's a lot of people.
That's like half
Yeah.
of an AHL game now.
But we played like in Anaheim. We played in the NHL rink. In Vancouver,
wow.
we played in the NHL rink.
Wow.
Oakland.
Wait, you had
the
you
only
were coach.
team, we draw like 200.
Dude, I'm looking at the coach here. The Montreal teams, Yvon Cornoyer.
Cornwall.
Cornwall.
He's a Hall of
Actually,
Famer, right?
I played in Montreal. The year I played in Montreal, our main coach was what was his name? Martin. NHL coach today. He's in this.
Jacques-
He's been an assistant.
Jacques Martin?
No. He was a college coach, ice coach for McGill University. Coach roller hockey. Ended up coach. He's been an assistant coach in the show for many years now.
Wow,
I mean, that
this
was
is
a
crazy.
coach.
Tiger Williams coached in this league. Bernie
Yeah.
Federico coached in this league.
Nicky Petit, who coached the Long Island team, I think.
He
Long
played-
Island Jaws.
Where's
I
the Long
think-
Island team? I don't see them in there.
I
Long
remember
Island
him.
Jaws.
I remember him coaching the team. It was kind of a big thing.
Yeah. I mean, when I
don't
played
know where it says
Montreal,
the
we came
coach.
down. We played Jersey. We played at where the Devils play. Hey, it
I
was
think it's a
big
different
deal.
league. I think it's a different league you guys are looking at because this league only existed for like 6 years in the 90s.
Yeah, OHI only existed for a short period of time.
Yeah.
Very short
Very
period of time.
interesting.
I mean, there was no money. There was no way these owners were like, they were not making any money with the travel we had to do and payroll, and there's no way that they were making money. But it was a great summer job.
I'm
That's
sure.
awesome. What a
And
cool
believe me, we
game.
drank every day. Believe me.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure you did.
Montreal, downtown Montreal in the summer? Yeah, okay.
By the way, did you know there's people on Amazon that are selling your hockey card?
I
That's
did
pretty
hear
cool.
that. I know.
What's-
Dominic would love one, but I refuse to give it to him. He's not paying me. I paid him way too much money as a lawyer. He's not getting one for free.
Oh, that's funny.
Never made money with that fucking guy as a lawyer. I don't know why.
You know those lawyers. You know those lawyers, Rico.
Oh, those damn lawyers. Jesus Christ.
I'm sure you did.
I mean, lawyers and Rangers fans. Why do I talk to these guys? I don't know. I really don't.
What do you got against the Rangers, man? You're a
Nothing.
Bruins fan. Was there a
that's
big
why I-
rivalry as a kid? Oh yeah, from the
Wow.
70s.
I have absolutely nothing against the Rangers. I just gotta pick on you guys, you know? I see way too much Rangers stuff right now.
I know it's crazy. We're a little fanatical.
The scary
Speaking of-
part is it's probably quadruple this stuff in our closets. And so,
You have no idea what I got in bins.
On the other side of the camera.
Yeah, forget it.
Sure. I have a really good friend. He's actually a sports photographer. He lives in Brooklyn. He's a diehard Rangers fan.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell him to give our show a listen.
Oh, he's going to listen. I'm going to tell him.
Awesome.
He's
That's
going to
awesome.
listen. Tommy. He
So
was
let's
actually
get-
one of my usher at my wedding.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Also, good friends.
Yeah, he's a really good friend. I was actually in New York City for Christmas. I was at his house for Christmas.
Awesome. Well, if you
7
make another
fishes,
trip, you'll have to let us know.
7 fishes. I came walking to New York. I left rolling. I spent 2 days with an Italian family. Holy
Oh
shit.
boy. Around Christmas time, forget it.
Oh yeah.
Where does he live in Brooklyn?
That's a hell of a good question, my friend.
Williamsburg?
I have no idea.
No.
I have no idea. He picked me up at the airport and he dropped me in Penn State to take the train. So
That's it.
that's all
You
I
know,
know.
Rico, speaking of the Rangers, though, I wanted to ask you. You told me that you're actually friends with Mark Ciaccio.
Mark, yeah. Actually, Mark started his career. So Mark was working summer camps with Robbie Glantz, who was the skill coach for the Kings. And Mark started to work winter teams in Albuquerque. So when I played in Albuquerque for New Mexico, Mark started to pretty much started his career there with teams.
And was he always like a skills coach, or what was he
Yeah,
doing?
he was our skill coach. And then the second year, he ended up like doing a little bit more with the coach and stuff. The second year in Albuquerque, our coach was Gary Unger.
Wow.
And Mark started to work with him a little bit more. And then the third year, I left that year before the season. I went to Florida, but Mark ended up being like the assistant coach in Albuquerque. But it was a hell of a skill coach. And then one summer, the 98, when did I get married? 98. That summer, I was working with Mark for Robbie Glantz because Robbie would do youth skill camps and stuff.
Yeah,
And
seen his
Mark-
ad. I seen his ad in USA Hockey Magazine.
Robbie?
Yeah.
Yep. So Mark was the head of our group, and he was the one running us, and we were teaching kids and stuff during the summer. And and then I went to Florida, and then Mark got in contact with the Coyotes when Gretzky on the team, because he's got a good connection with Gretzky, and he worked for the Coyotes, and then he got the job in New York. And I saw the article that you said. I didn't know that his role has changed. I haven't talked to Mark in a bit now, but yeah, I know Mark from way back. I mean, I was in Albuquerque in 96, 95, 96, something like this. So I know Mark since back in those days. And we worked the
You
summer.
played for the New Mexico Scorpions, 96, 97, and 97, 98.
So I know Mark since 96 then. Thanks for reminding
Yeah, so
me.
well, I got your thing up right here. So it's easy.
Now wait, Rico. When you were helping the kids in the camp, what was your big thing? You grab them by the shoulder and say you got to toughen up.
No, I was giving yeah, I was. Gotta be tough, kid. Gotta be tough. No,
That's funny.
Mark was much smarter. So instead of me teaching kids on the ice, he would have me end up like the T-shirts when they arrive. Because he didn't want me on the ice. No, I was on the ice. But Mark is a hell of a skater. Watching that guy skate is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I could only imagine. My wish would have been to do half of what you could do on ice.
I can imagine. Yeah,
it was crazy.
those guys they glide on the ice like effortless.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. And I know Mark still has he does a lot of summer camp for kids and stuff, and I'm not I know they're moving him to to handle probably the newcomers on the team.
Yeah, well, I read that he asked for that actually.
Well,
In the
maybe
New York
he did.
Post,
I don't know.
it said he asked for it.
I'll try to reach out to him, but
Yeah, I would love to have him on the podcast if he's willing to, honestly, because I'm just so curious about the skills coach. You know, you look at the coaching staffs in the NHL. I think we spoke about this on our phone call. You know, it's like assistant coach, associate coach, head coach, goalie coach. You know, you can identify like what they do as a former hockey player. You don't have to be in the NHL to like understand what those coaches are up to. But like a skills coach and at that level, I'm just really curious what his like day to day was. And you know, did you have skills coaches when you played? It's probably a newer thing, right?
I actually my she wasn't a skill coach. She was more a skating coach. So
Like
in New
power
Haven, I
skating.
worked with Laura Stram or Laura Stam. Laura Stam.
Yeah, I
Stam,
did a
yeah.
I did a clinic with her back in the late 70s.
Yeah. So
Wow.
she was
I
our
think
skating coach.
I think I did one with her too,
Yeah.
honestly. She did power skating, right?
Yeah, power skating. And she would come to New Haven maybe every 3 weeks or so. She would come, depending on the schedule, and spend practice with us. And then, obviously, kids like me couldn't skate forward fast enough. Spent a lot of time with her.
Well, Ed, you always you're asking what did they do? I think she was famous on the island for helping Bobby Nystrom right before they won the cups. I think that
Yeah,
was a
also
famous.
is she the one that helped Luke Robitaille too?
She did help Robitaille quite a bit.
Yeah, there was a thing about Robitaille when he came in the league. He wasn't a great skater, and then he did power skating with her, I think it was.
Yeah,
And then all of a sudden his career took off after that.
But she was pretty good. I mean, I had her for 2 years, and then that went away until I played in New Mexico, and Mark came along. I did a lot of work. Even if I was getting older, I did a lot of work with Mark. Mark helped me quite a bit, and it's amazing. Even if you think you know, how much you don't know.
Yeah.
And Mark was a good guy to do this for you. He was able to pinpoint some little things to do, and that you wouldn't realize, or bad habits that you had while skating, and he would try to change that to make it so much better.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's a good thing. I'm just curious, you know, how it works at that level. You know,
I totally forgot. So I'll try to reach out to Mark and see if he would be interested, and I'll be happy to say good things to him.
No, you know, yeah, sure.
I mean, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, but I will do my best to say good things about you guys.
Yeah, I mean, look,
no pressure.
Just leave Coach Ed out, and it's easy. Just leave Coach Ed out, and it's easy.
Don't make me tell Dominic he's got to straighten you out, Rico.
Oh, I'm scared.
So Rico, you ended your like playing career with the Florida Everblades, right, in the ECHL.
Yep.
And then is that how you ended up staying down there? Because that's over in Naples, right?
Absolutely.
You just like the area and.
Yeah, the areas. So it was in 98.
Hold on, I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
I think the year.
Yeah, 98.
98, 99.
The weather was okay. So the weather, it was small town. It was just perfect, and my wife at that point, her parents lived in Bonita, which is just south where the rink was, and decided
Bonita
to
Springs?
buy a place there, and I got a job in Naples and stayed there for 9 years, I think, after I played.
Wow.
And then I went to Boston for 7, and now we're back to Naples.
Yeah, Naples is a nice town. It is.
It's getting too big, to be honest with you. It's getting big.
The beaches are beautiful there, though. I mean, I live in
area.
I live in Miami.
Beautiful. Oh, way better.
Yeah, I live in Miami. The water in Naples is just. I like the Gulf of Mexico water better than the Atlantic, honestly.
In the winter, there's nothing beats Naples in the winter.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
What about Rico? What about North Naples Country Club?
Never been there. I have no idea what
No.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
Dominic
Dominic-
wouldn't take me.
Oh, stop! That's his favorite place. I love that place.
Dominic wouldn't take me. So
Really?
I was down. So I was down for around Christmas time. I was down in 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 Christmas ago. I was down in Naples, and I went out with Dominic and a couple of the guys from Luca Law, and I guess I passed the limit of no return.
Oh, boy.
And Dominic was going to take me home, and apparently I wanted to go for a nightcap at North Naples Country Club, and Dominic didn't want to take me.
Oh God.
By the way, that's Lucarelli Law. That's one of our sponsors.
Yeah.
Oh, you really?
Yeah.
He sponsors our show, man.
So I'm paying for this freaking show?
That's it.
Indirectly.
I think he can. I
I'm
think he.
paying for this show? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
In fact, when I asked him for the sponsorship, he said, "Don't worry about it. I'll pass it on to one of my clients."
Yeah.
I guess that was you.
That's funny.
Dominic won one case for me. He ended up making more money than me. I don't know why. I don't know how it works.
Oh my
And we won. I don't get it. It was damn lawyers.
No, he's a good lawyer, Dominic. He's really good.
No, he is such a great man. He is such a great man. I gotta give it to him.
Yeah,
When
no,
he
he's
sleeps-
good.
When he sleeps.
Except for the fact that he puts mushrooms in his pasta.
Can you believe the balls of Dominic to put mushroom in your pasta? Holy
Without
shit.
even asking if you like him either. He just puts them in there. He's like, he doesn't say like, "Hey, do you like mushrooms?" He just makes it. He's like, "Here, eat it."
No, he's Italian. You guys should know better.
No, we know. Don't
You
worry.
like food, you eat the food. You don't complain. You just eat it.
That's it.
I learned really early, and because I met my buddy Tommy in New Haven. Actually, he was our team photographer, and he's Italian, Tom DeRosa, and I learned you don't argue with him.
Just
Put
eat.
That's
food
the
in front of you,
Italians.
you eat the food, you be quiet, and you say thank you.
Where does he work? You said he's a sports photographer. Does he work for like a team or something?
Tommaso DeRosa. So he does a lot less, but he did a lot of football. He did a lot of baseball. Did some hockey. Still shoots some baseball. Like once in a while, he'll go to a Mets game and shoot. And
Does he work for like a team or he's just doing freelance?
no, he's more independent today, but
Nice.
still like he'll go to Yankee Stadium and shoots the Yankees. So does a lot of independent stuff today.
That's really
and
cool.
Sells his pictures to different magazines and stuff. So he's almost
No,
slowed down,
that's awesome. Yeah.
just like most of us.
Oh man, dude, I can't thank you enough for coming on and joining us, especially while you're working and stuff like that, man. It's
Oh,
means a
no
lot to
problem.
us.
It was a lot of fun.
Anytime
I can talk hockey all day, all night. I watch the games all the time, even when I work. The minute I stop, the first thing I do is turn the hockey game on during the winter. And
You still
There's
follow
no-
the league closely and like follow the players and stuff?
yeah, there's no better league. There's no better sports, in my opinion, on the planet. And especially when you see it live, it's tenfold watching it on TV.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane.
Absolutely. So are you a Panthers fan or Lightning fan? Or are you still loyal to the Bruins?
I am Boston through and through, my friend.
So how'd you handle
Wow.
the Panthers knocking them out last year? That must have sucked.
To say the least.
Especially you're in Florida.
I was fucking furious. Excuse my language.
No,
I
that's
don't know
all
if we're
right.
allowed to say that. I was furious, but then when you start, but when you start looking, like Ulmark was hurt, Bergeron was hurting. I mean, when your top players are hurting in the playoff, when your top goalie can't stand, like the top goalie can't even skate, and you could see
Yeah.
it. So when your top goalie can't skate, don't expect to win in the playoff. I mean,
Still,
you need a
you're
goalie.
up 3-1 even with that. You had the best record ever. It's tough. It's a tough loss.
Yeah, but
I was excited in the sense that I like upsets, and you know I do like the Panthers a little bit, being that I'm
Yeah.
here, and there's no
Yeah.
rivalry with the Rangers. And honestly, I just thought Boston was a little bit of a paper tiger all season, so I was a little happy. But then I started to feel bad for Bruins fans because I'm like, damn, that really does suck. You know, this is like Bergeron's last season. You
Yeah.
know, your best record in NHL history, last shot at it, and they just blow it in 7 games. Tough.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, but it's part of the game. That's the reason why you play the game.
Yep.
Because if you only look at the papers,
Yep.
then we wouldn't have to play the game. And that's the reason the game, every single games are played, is because you never know.
You think
Yep,
they
they-
take a step back next year or what?
Oh, shit, I don't think we make the playoff.
We said that last year.
I know we did. I'm not going to do that
I
again.
don't think the Rangers will make the playoff either.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh, get out of here.
I don't think the Bruins
All
will
right,
make
we'll
the
end
playoff. I don't think the Rangers will make the playoff.
All right, get this guy out of here.
Yeah,
I
what are you,
really
crazy?
don't understand what they did with the Rangers. So far this offseason, I don't understand what the Rangers are doing.
Well, they got no cap space.
I
They're doing
don't
the best they
understand their
can.
signings. And
You don't like Blake Wheeler?
I mean, that's the problem. That's the problem.
Well, now you,
But why is Pittsburgh getting Carlson?
We literally just talked about
You know
that
what I'm
earlier.
saying?
yeah.
That's funny.
Well, now you got to listen to our
Pittsburgh's
episodes. You got to
getting
listen to our
Carlson.
episodes.
See, I'm with Rico. I don't understand. The Rangers signed. The
I
Rangers
from
signed.
now on because that's all I have to do.
I don't understand. The Rangers signed like 10 guys for 900,000. They could have signed Tarasenko. I don't get it.
I explained this to you already.
I still don't get it. It doesn't add up to me.
Most of those guys are going to be in the AHL and not count against the salary cap. It's funny how the 2 guys born before like 1970 don't get it, and then the rest of us get it. It's a salary cap.
Oh, Miami boy.
Yeah, you see?
Yeah.
Hey, Rico, you see what I deal with, Rico, on a daily basis?
I gotta bust his chops. I gotta bust his chops.
I mean, you guys signed a 3 guys that will probably play on the 4th line.
Yep.
Let's hope so.
I mean, that's all we needed. The rest of the
But
team
your
is
top
set.
line won't produce. So
We'll see.
we'll see.
We couldn't really do anything. That's the problem, you know. I mean,
We'll have to have Rico back on mid-season to catch up to see what we're
yeah,
looking at.
we'll do a mid-season review of where the Rangers are, Rico. How
Oh,
about that?
Lord.
Rico,
Also, I was just
Rico-
busting your chops, by the way. Don't get upset.
No problem with all of that. As long as we don't compare the Rangers to the Bruins. Because I said, I'm very open, the Bruins will not make the playoff.
Rico,
The Bruins are out this year.
anytime you're at a truck stop and you got a low and you want to come on the podcast, you're more than welcome.
Well, thank you.
You could start talk. We need that content.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I can talk hockey all the time.
yeah.
We'll definitely
I
have
can
you
tell
back on.
Busting my chops over there.
Hey, Miami.
Now Miami is my nickname. I love it.
Cousin Ed, yeah, right, Miami.
That's not really Florida.
Oh,
Calling
geez.
you Miami could be a good thing.
That's fine. You can call me Miami. I won't edit that out.
Because Miami was the lawyer for Queens. You made a lot of good money.
Oh my God! All right, I think
All
we're
right.
done here, boys.
And on that note,
No, what? You didn't watch the movie?
nothing.
What movie?
Bohemian Rhapsody?
Oh no, I didn't see that.
I saw
Holy
Bohemian
shit,
Rhapsody
you
for
were
sure.
born in 2000?
Me, 86.
Oh, you didn't watch Queen?
No,
I
guess
watched
I
Bohemian
do.
Rhapsody. It's one of my favorite recent movies for sure.
So remember
Yeah.
when they asked the lawyer what's his name, and Freddie Mercury says his name is Miami?
Oh yeah. Miami. Something I forget what his nickname was.
His name
Miami
is
something.
Miami. He's a lawyer. Called him
Yeah.
Miami. Made a lot of money.
Yeah, he said you can't have fun with a name like Jeff or something like that.
Yeah,
His name's
exactly.
Miami.
His name is Miami.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It was actually a good thing to call you Miami.
No,
There
you
you
can
go.
call me Miami. I live here, so it's fine. That's all right. I'll just call you Naples. You know, it is what it is. Makes sense.
Yeah,
All right.
works for me.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Rico. Thank you very much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for
We'll
having
definitely
me.
have to catch up with you
It was
soon.
fun. It was fun.
Thank you.
Let's talk more hockey later this year.
Safe
Yeah.
driving, bud. Safe driving, bud.
We'll
Thank
bring
you
it
so
back.
much. You guys be good.
Thanks, Rico.
You
All
too.
right.
Get home safe.
Bye.
Later, man. Wow, those Fatigue stories were something else, man. That's funny.
Yeah, he could have went on and on and on, but we had to put a pin in it. We were going on an hour and a half here.
Yeah, I mean it's just good content. He's funny. It's interesting, you know, when he's talking about how the game was different when he played in the 80s and 90s. Just in the locker room, the way the players spoke to each other, the way the coaches addressed him. That would never happen now. Ever.
No.
None of that stuff would ever happen. It's just a whole
Well,
different world, you know.
It was happening until a couple of years ago when Babcock got, when these things happen. It was happening a little bit here and there.
Sure.
But now they're putting the kibosh on it. It's those old timers are getting weeded out for sure. And if if these other guys like Laviolette and them don't learn a little bit, they're going to get blackballed too. So they got
Babcock's back.
We'll see for
Yeah,
how
he's
long.
back he's back with Columbus. I told you, I heard his interview. I think he's changed a little bit, so we'll see how he ends up. But it was just interesting, it's trying to be a young kid trying to make the NHL in 1989 versus what Alexis Lafreniere is dealing with now. We're here like, oh, they don't give him first line minutes, and here Rico's getting thrown against the wall by his coach in the AHL. It's just like a little.
Yeah. And
I mean,
and
puts it
having
in
to pay for his
perspective,
own surgeries and go home to get his own
Right.
surgeries and rehab it the best way you can. Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, think about going into that training camp. The Kings is that the year they made the finals or the year before they made the finals?
No, that's 93 they made it, so it was a couple years before.
All right, but it's still like an
Still-
all-star
they probably
team in
still had-
development.
Yeah, they still had a good team.
No, that team was stacked. I actually looked it up. I was curious, I wanted to know who else was at that camp. It was a stacked team, like insane.
That's like being drafted by the Yankees. You're like, oh, I got drafted into the MLB, but you're playing on
Never
a team.
gonna crack the lineup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that team had Barry Beck, Rob Blake, Steve Duchesne, Tony Granato, Wayne Gretzky, Kelly Rudy, Marty McSorley, Bernie Nichols, Larry Robinson, Luke Robitaille, Tomas Sandstrom, John Tonelli, Dave Taylor. A stacked team. Like just
Wow.
a really, really deep team, and all those guys at like young ages. I mean, Rob Blake was 20. Tony Granato was 25. Gretzky was 29. Bernie Nichols was 28. Luke Robitaille was 23. So, it's not like he had those guys like the end of their career. I mean, they're in their prime,
Robinson was at the end of his career. Beck was at the end of his career. A few guys, but for the most part,
those were the veterans. They a couple veterans. Dave Taylor.
Tonelli was at the end of his career.
Yeah, so they had 3 or 4 veterans, but the other guys were, you know,
Was Melrose
It's-
the coach of that team?
um,
Or Fatoric might have been the coach.
Tom Webster.
Wow.
Gretzky was the captain. They lost in division finals to Edmonton, ironically. Edmonton won the cup that year. That's right, with Messier. Must have sucked for Gretzky to get swept by Edmonton in the playoffs after all that.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah, but Rico's just an interesting guy. Cool career arc. That roller hockey stuff. That was a great question, Ed. I mean, it's just a really cool league to you start digging into it. It's like roller hockey international. I vaguely remember this, but
Yeah.
there is no professional roller hockey league, is there?
I think in like California, I mean, you could play Long Island 495ers is like a semi-pro team or whatever. I know you could try out for that team, but I don't know how much. What does that even mean? It's not like
Yeah.
Well, back then it sounded like
step above men's league. I'm not even sure if they get paid.
Yeah, back then it was probably like a kind of like an off-season conditioning league. It sounds like where they made a few bucks and they were trying to promote the league for with stars that didn't quite make it or whatever.
I know it's very popular in California, and even like ex-pros go and like after they retire, they can't crack the NHL. They just go play in California. I think I hear about a lot of tournaments and stuff. But
yeah, really, really cool stuff. So thanks again, Rico, for coming on. It was an awesome interview.
And thanks to Dominic Lucarelli of Lucarelli Law for setting that up.
Yep.
Again thinking about us.
This episode sponsored by Lucarelli Law down in Naples, Florida.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Dom connected me with Rico, and it was really, we chatted, and it was just a really, really cool conversation. So, he's a great guy, and we got some other interviews coming up soon for you guys to listen to.
Well, for the fans down in Florida, what kind of lawyer is Dom, and what does he's just a silent financier of the podcast, or does he want to actually talk about get some possible clients here?
We actually should have Dom. We actually should have Dom on for a few minutes. He'd be an interesting.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about the Lucarelli Law hockey team. We should bring him on. So Dominic is one of the main officers of the National Italian American Bar Association, which is how I ended up getting connected. Actually, Coach Ed connected me with him. And he's just a really great guy. I mean, he does, personal injury, criminal, med mal, things like that. You can look him up online, find his website, just type Lucarelli Law in and you'll see it. It comes right up. But he's also a really good guy. I'm not trying to suck up to him or anything, but he always takes my call. He gives me advice. He gives me career advice. He gives me connections if I need them. He's always willing to help out and stuff. So he's a really good dude and a really good lawyer. I have a lot of respect for him. So if you're in Florida, or even if you get in trouble in Florida and you need a lawyer, you could call Dominic. He'll take care of you. He'll connect you with the right people, even if he's not the right one. He's that kind of guy. So
don't call Cousin Ed. Call Dominic.
Well, don't call me because I only do one area of law. So unless you get indicted by the federal government, I'm not gonna be able to help you. But you could call me if I could connect you with people. But Dominic's a little older. He's got more connections. Depends. I would recommend calling him. But anyway, I know Coach is busting my chops, but I was being serious.
No, Dominic's always going to do the right thing for you. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you, Dominic, and thank you, Rico. And fans, tune in next week after you listen to this one. We got another interview on the way, and we got some more content coming for you with the rivalry tour coming up. We'll be dropping that info eventually, and keep an eye out for it. And thanks for listening.
Thank you, fans. Fun episode. Love you
Great
guys.
job, boy. Great job, boys.